And we're back. Same day, same blues. 1 Southampton, 0 to our boys in blue, Chelsea. Wow. Uninspiring. I guess that's just the only way that I can put it, because understanding that Chelsea are in a project and are in a point where they have to build a squad from kind of the ground up while phasing out old players, bringing in new. Has only been the fourth game that all these players have been able to be together, and it was just uninspiring from the beginning. And I know that there was rotation. The lineup today was Kepa in goal. You had Ben Chilwell play left back. You had Koulibaly and Badiashile as your center backs. Azpilicueta was your right back. You had a pivot of Enzo and Kovacic. Felix playing slightly above. And then you had None Madueke, David Datro Fofana, and Mason Mount were your attackers, so to speak. And it was uninspiring. I think that first 45 minutes was some of the worst football that I've ever seen. You got bullied off the ball by Southampton. Southampton took it to you. For the entire match. And especially in that first 45 minutes. I have never seen a more uninspired, uncohesive unit. And it starts to get me to wonder, is it the squad size that's proving to be the issue? Is it so many players, not enough time to get cohesion, connection? It's totally possible. But what else is going on behind the scenes that we're not seeing? There has to be something, because cohesion and connection can only be so far, because some of these players' performances, and I'm talking new and old, were uninspiring, to say the least. They looked like they didn't have instruction of what to do. It looked like they were going to go out there with their talent, and their talent was going to win. No. Despite Southampton being 20th in the table, despite Chelsea's payroll, Southampton looked like the more complete team. They look like they've been playing together with each other all year, and that's the case. So while it is nice to have the ability to chop and change your roster and add a bunch of players when things aren't working, Southampton have had time to work together and build a team. So they can say, oh, I know where he's going to be. I can rely on him. And this is all under a new manager. So there's 3 buckets where I put Chelsea's current crisis right now. It is lack of cohesion. It is players' mental strength and ability to overcome themselves in these situations. And then it's the third manager bucket of Graham Potter. Now, I have been really involved with that first and second bucket. I think player cohesion and finding your best 11 is something that Chelsea need to do. And I think I understand you need to rotate because a lot of these players are coming back hurt, but you need to create some cohesion. You have to. What we saw from Enzo and Ruben Loftus-Cheek was impressive during the midweek match against Dortmund. And then Enzo and Kovacic really didn't hit it off as I thought they would. I thought this was Enzo's worst game in a Chelsea uniform. Just a lot of misplaced passes, not knowing where people are going to be. It was a lack of cohesion, which is what we saw. And that can be an issue. So when you rotate players and you want to keep Reece James out because you want to manage minutes, which I'm totally fine with. You want to manage Thiago Silva's minutes. That's totally fine. But you're going to have to understand that players' performance is going to take a step back, and that cohesion is not going to be there in a must-win game. And that's why I'm coming at Graham Potter. Because, especially for him, you know how important this match is for your job. Because I'm not in the boat of firing you, because I just think that takes a whole nother step back and just creates more chaos on the club that you don't need. And I do think that if given time and a preseason, that this team could definitely be running some smooth ball, as we've seen a couple times before. However, to put Enzo Fernandez out there in a situation where he's playing with 6 new players around him that he's really never played with in a must-win game, to put João Felix out there with David Datro Fofana, who he's never played with, in a must-win game, that's just really hard to do. It's really hard to do in a must-win game. And I understand Kai Havertz hasn't been great up top, and I know he's played actually a lot of football, and you probably want to give him a bit of rest, but that's just too much responsibility on the shoulders of these players. While quality as it may be, the cohesion is not there. So for that, I'm going to call Graham Potter out on, because that doesn't make sense to me. You need to rotate. The squad is big. We know this. We get this. But in a must-win game where you don't have another week until your next game, I think that it was a bad idea to start some of these players and their, and whatnot. You have to look, and obviously prayers up for Azpilicueta after that really a horrific shot to the head that he took, but his profile just isn't the same as Reece James, and you saw that when we've got Malo Gusto. That was an understanding from the recruitment team to say we can't have such a drastic drop-off on that right-hand side in terms of creativity, physicality, ability to get back. It's just too much. So now you have Enzo, who's required to cover more space because a guy's out there, and he hasn't had to do that yet. We lose because of a one-off not fluky, because James Ward-Prowse is really good out there, and you need to understand that you can't be fouling like that there. You're almost better, and in the moment it's more difficult than we're saying, but you need to have that sort of awareness when you're playing, because that's really Southampton's only threat is a set-piece situation. With James Ward-Prowse that you should really be worried about. So I don't know. It's a frustrating time. I can't really tell you there was a single player that played well today. In terms of the substitutes, I did like Wesley Fofana's performance. I thought he brought a pretty a bit of calmness, I think, actually. Didn't have too many mistakes. He looked good, and it was good to see him back out there. I thought Raheem Sterling was the brightest offensive player, despite him should have had 2 goals. But what's new? We can't seem to buy one to hit the back of the net, so that's just kind of how it is. And fair play to the Southampton players to beat the ball off the line a couple of times on a couple Sterling chances. That's just what it is. When you're in bad form, man, everything seems like it's the end of the world, and it feels like it because we care so much about this club, and it's frustrating, watching this, because that these guys are able to perform better. You know that they are, but to figure out what the hindrance is of those 3 buckets that I explained: cohesion, mental strength, which I think has always been a problem with our players, and with Potter. And I think that you see the ownership group and the recruitment staff understand that by hiring, mental strength coaches, new physios. I think this club just needs a clean slate. And unfortunately, in the middle of a Champions League and Premier League campaign where things aren't going well, you kind of just have to get through it and just deal with it. And we're not dealing with it well. We aren't using mental strength to get over the hump. We're the first half was just, I just can't get over how poor it was. We were just sitting back and no cohesion, couldn't get the ball up the field, and Southampton just squeezed us. So I don't know, and I don't think Reece James and Thiago Silva make that much difference in that aspect of the game. I just think we were not prepared. And if we think that we could go out there and just beat a Southampton team, I think this team needs to look in the mirror a little bit, because we are one of the worst teams in the Premier League right now. We can't buy a goal. Our defensive record is fairly good, and when we give up goals, it's kind of on random mental lapses, if you will, which I think you can definitely say from the Dortmund game was individual class, but a bit of a mental lapse to not understand that you only have one man on the break with a very fast player. The West Ham goal was a mental lapse. Cucurella never came out of the box. Miscommunication in the back between Reese and Noni, and the ball went in the net. Today, you don't know. You give a free kick to maybe the best free kick taker that's almost ever lived. I mean, he's unbelievable. He's sensational. So I don't know. It's frustrating, and I kind of just don't know where to turn at this point, because I think, yeah, you can change players and whatnot, but I think some of these guys just got to get through it. I think they just got to get through it. And it's growing pains, and it's tough. And you hope that we come out of this how Arsenal have come out of this with their growing pains the season before last. And you hope that this is just the time where you just got to suffer and there's good things at the end of the road, because we just got bullied out there. We got punched in the mouth, and we didn't have a chance. We didn't even get up. We didn't get off the canvas. So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the video below. I know I seem really defeated, because I just am. I don't have answers, and I don't know if sacking the manager is the answer. To me it isn't, because I think no matter who you bring in, they're going to have these same issues. So I think you just go in, you just take the rest of the season for what it is. If we don't get Europe, we don't get Europe. I just think you got to put all your energy into that second leg of the Champions League tie, because that's the only thing that's going to give this fan base a boost, because you have Leeds and then Tottenham, two tough games, despite Leeds' form, despite Tottenham's form. Those are two hectic games that we play on a yearly basis. So we just got to see one go through the back of the net, I think, and hopefully it'll push us on. But I don't know, pretty dejected after this one. So, all right, well, let me know what you guys think. Which one of those buckets that I talked about do you guys think is the most important to think about? Is it the cohesion bucket? Is it the mental strength bucket? Is it the Potter bucket? Maybe it's a little bit of all three, and that's probably the answer. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and like the video. I really appreciate all the feedback that I get from you guys. We try to stay level-headed here, but today, man, it was just, I've never seen anything quite like that. Just a sad Chelsea performance, and I know that maybe there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but it's very, very small to see right now. So, all right, thank you.